I'm from, we were talking before, I'm from the Panhandle, grew up in Panama City and very familiar with what the ocean can do out there. So if you don't mind, let's just sort of go back to that day. I think it was in January, you were down in Pensacola, and this is something where your family had gone there quite a bit, and kids enjoyed it. And just if you would, just because there's some people, Peyton, that may not have heard the story. So you're sitting there on the beach, and tell us what happened.
Sorry if I tear up, but we got there the night before, and I forgot what date it was exactly, but there was a bad storm. And looking back on it now, I kind of should have probably been paying attention to that. But we stayed there for the night, and the next morning, my whole family, my girlfriend was with us, everybody staying in the condo, and my mother, she says, "Hey, let's take the kids down to the beach." And I said, no big deal. My brother, he didn't come down. My father didn't come down, which, at the end of it, it's a blessing. But anyway, we got to the beach, and it was me, my mother, and my sister, and my brother's wife, Emily. And we had all the grandkids, nieces and nephews, including my own, and my son and Camille. They're the oldest of the grandchildren.
That's him right there.
And that's actually a picture taken that day. But I remember building sandcastles with my brother's sons, and Ori and Camille. I guess at one point I didn't see it, but they're about 15, 20 yards out there, and a riptide took them out. And there's only one scream that a son or a daughter would know it was when my mom yelled. And she pointed out, and I already knew something was wrong. So I, hit up the beach and hit the water. And the worst feeling of my life was that I had to pass up my son, because my brother's daughter is further out. And I knew that, she's a little younger, that she couldn't take it. And me swimming past my son was the hardest thing that I ever could have done. But at the same time, I guess my sister, she hit the water too, but I didn't see her. And a gentleman came out with a boogie board, and I got to Camille, and she kept saying to me, we're going to die, we're going to die. And I said, "Honey, you're not going to die. You're not." The man with the boogie board came off, and we took the boogie board off of him, and I put my sister and Camille on it and pushed them away. And right when that happened, I went back for my son. He was a little bit further back to the beach, and by the time I got to him, he was limp. And you kept on seeing his eyes roll back, and I'm sitting there holding him, and you're just stuck right here in the middle of this water, and you couldn't move. And you hear a lot of people say, this is what you do when you get in a riptide, but when you're holding your 140-pound child and you can't move, and you're just thinking at every second it could be his last. And we were there for a little while. From 8 to 10 minutes. And tide would come in, and I'd be holding him. He would try to get a breath a little bit. Then 11, 12-foot waves would hit. And I guess I didn't know it, but I was just taking in so much water just from all the adrenaline that was going on. But I'm sitting there holding him, And I looked back to the beach, and everything started slowing down. And of course, I see my mother, and I see my brother's wife, Emily, on the beach, and I'm sitting there holding them, and I said, well, you know, I'm not going to make it. I said, Yahweh, please save my son. And I don't care what happens after that. But we end up getting out of the riptide, and I'm starting to go to the beach, and my son starts getting a little life back in him, and I push him away, and somebody helped him out of the water, and as I was walking to the beach, I just passed out. And last thing I remember is my girlfriend Angela trying to help me out of the water, from pretty far out, and I kept on falling down and couldn't move, couldn't stand up, and I just kept on taking in more water. But that's the last part that I remember, that until I woke up in the hospital 10 or 12 days later.
And you were on the, I don't know if anybody, I didn't want to show, he said he'd be fine looking at the picture, but I just, didn't want to show, but there were ambulances, there was a helicopter that came out, the Baptist Hospital helicopter came out, and so you just knew you got to the beach, you knew your son, your niece were okay, and then it blacked out. So you were in the hospital for 10 days. At what point in the hospital could you figure out what was going on?
Well, I think that was probably the worst part for me, was because, I passed out not knowing nothing, not knowing if they made it or not. And it seemed like the whole time I was under for 2 weeks, I was either dreaming about them dying, and me not getting to them on a few different occasions. And then when I'm awake, you're on a ventilator, and I don't know why this would happen, but I could hear my girlfriend or my dad talking. And I was thinking to myself, I think I heard a nurse speaking Spanish. I was like, what am I doing in Mexico? And anyway, like, you're coherent when you're awake, and I just hear them talking like, he has to wake up this time, or, he'll probably go into coma. And after a few times of hearing that, I started freaking out. And my dad, I guess they told him, you play music to help them wake up. Well, he started playing Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire. And I was like, there ain't no doubt I'm in Mexico. That's what I was just thinking the whole time. But when I woke up, I remember my whole family standing over me, and my mom, she got over me and said, Peyton, everybody made it. And that was the biggest relief I've ever felt, because I know if I'd have lost my niece or my son, that I wouldn't be able to endure it. I wouldn't be here. But also, I know with my brother, he had a stroke a few months before this incident, and I just know if my dad or my brother would have went out, it would not have been well. And how Yahweh made everything work out just perfect for my good, and I'm very thankful for that. When I woke up, I remember myself just crying, because I didn't know what to think. I was thinking to myself, I felt guilty for not minding to die, and I felt guilty for living at the same time, and didn't know, kind of lost myself. But I heard the Lord calling out to me. It's like, Peyton, if it's permissible, then it's necessary. And if it's necessary, it's permissible. And all things, all bad things, work out to your good. And I'm trying to look at every life situation where when you really look at it, you can find the good in all things, even all the bad. And those bad things are the ones that are supposed to make you become perfected and make you be the man that the Lord wants you to be. Months previous to that, I was not in a good spot anyway, but I found out that the Lord loves you no matter what you do. You always been so very good to me, and I know that no matter what I do in my life, what sin I commit, it will never take me away from him. Like the prodigal son in Luke 15. Son takes his inheritance, squanders it away, sleeping with pigs and all sorts of things. But when he comes back, his father brings him his inheritance. And I know that of all the bad and evil things that we have done or I've done, that I'm forgiven. And I'm very thankful that the Lord showed me that.
Well, obviously, I know that's tough to share, but I know everybody appreciates you sharing that. And then, you're there in the hospital. You don't realize that now it's national news. I mean, it's a national story. And, I'm sure you don't realize that at the time, but it has. But, down in Pensacola, there's a former running back, Matt, if you'll punch up that next picture, so that guy right there, the all-time leading rusher in NFL history, is from Pensacola. He comes by to see you. So was that sort of one of the realizations of, my goodness, this thing has gone national, that you got Emmitt Smith coming by to check on me?
When I was in there, I was going through either a lot of pain and, for a while they had to learn how to walk again and do some stuff like that. But when my father said he was going to come, he was my hero when I was a kid. That's why I wore number 22. And so I think he called me the night after the Cowboys won their first playoff game in a long time and said, "I'm going to come down and see you." And, when he came in, he was an upstanding guy, tremendous gentleman, and, really cared about the situation I was in. So that was really nice.
Also, too, on one of your social media accounts, you put this picture. This is the staff there, and you just talked about how important everybody. And there's your girlfriend there. Talk about how important that staff was and what they did for you for that time you were there.
The most incredible staff that anybody could have had. I mean, they were waiting on me hand and foot, for anything that I needed or wanted, and they kept a lot of people away that should have been kept away, and by the time we left, they were like family. And, if I, we were even saying, whatever we come to in the future where, we have to be put up, we're going to come back here because it's so good. But, my poor folks, they've seen me almost die about 6 times. So, I hope I don't have to put them through too much more of that.
It had to be a little bit, again, you told me the number of texts you got and the number of people that, all the NFL teams you played for, the Razorbacks, all that. And then you find yourself with Michael Strahan on Good Morning America. Was there ever a moment you look around saying, this is, all this is how this is happening? It's almost crazy how all this is happening.
Well, when I woke up, everybody was telling me how much coverage it was getting. But at first, I didn't really want to talk to anybody. I didn't really want it to be out there to where maybe my son can hear it again, or my daughter, or even my niece. And that kind of worried me. But they kept on reaching out. And, Ms. Strahan being an ex-player, I felt kind of comfortable going with him because of all the millions of fans and people reaching out for me, for the best. And I felt like I owed them, to tell the story.
Well, I thought you did a great job with Strahan. And now, obviously, everyone wants to know, so how is your son and how is your niece? How are they doing after all this?
Thankfully, it's like nothing ever happened. My son, thank you. My son, he's all the best parts of me and none of the worst. And he's a wonderful kid, great kid. And I'm very thankful to have him. He makes me proud. And right now he's playing football and he's doing halfway decent. I tell the truth. But my niece, she's a heck of a softball player. She's probably the best athlete in her family, and she still has all the sass that she did before it happened. So I think she's doing all right.